Yesterday's announcements by the Chancellor, it was great to see so much information there already on the renewable sector, especially in such a short announcement and in the current crisis. So brilliant to see us taking it seriously. Of course, we already knew about the fundamental announcement in there, which was that £3 billion of funding was going to be made available for energy efficient improvements, and also the green job creation. Really welcome that. I think it's exactly what we need to go on our journey to carbon neutrality by 2050. I suppose the challenge in it is that a lot of the details are not in there, and I suppose I question whether some of the funding and what will qualify will really go far enough to make a big difference. So £2 billion of the funding is for the Green Homes Grant Scheme, and this is to pay for improvements on loft and wall insulation, floor insulation, triple and double glazed windows. And what we don't know, and it's a shame it's not in there, is whether it will also cover biomass, battery storage, solar, which could go a long way in certain properties in the UK to improve them. If you think about a lot of our housing stock, it's Georgian, Victorian, they don't have cavity walls, they easily can be insulated in the loft, but also to heat them on sort of air source or electric heating could be challenging, and biomass in some of those situations is absolutely essential. It's a replacement to oil or LPG. So I hope the Chancellor makes the definition nice and wide, and it would also be fantastic for some of those businesses with those technologies that they could get into mainstream housing on a more endorsed basis by the government. I think the other £1 billion is going to be towards public buildings, schools, hospitals, making them greener and more energy efficient. Again, lighting and installation will be included, but let's see if we can really harness some of the new technologies that are absolutely fantastic, would make a big difference to the carbon neutrality. I suppose the question is, does it go far enough now to be on track for net zero by 2050? And perhaps in the current climate, it would seem a little unfair to think those announcements, which is more of a jobs-based budget, were really going to cover off our journey to 2050. Hopefully he'll come back in the autumn and give us lots more detail. And it's going to be a busy year because we've got a big climate change summit. It's happening in the UK this summer. And the government's also promised us 2 big documents to come this year, one of which is their plan for our journey as a country to go to carbon neutrality by 2050. And that needs to be a combination of wind, solar, biomass, bioenergy to be able to deliver that. And hopefully the government are looking across all of the emerging technologies and those established in the business to really what could be useful for us. So let's see. It's a big ask to be carbon neutral by 2050. They seem to think they're doing quite well. If you read the announcement, they will say that we are of all the G7, the country that's moved the furthest in terms of driving our green agenda since everything was set in Paris in 2015. So I still think there's a way to go. And I think it's going to be a busy year, and we hopefully see some great announcements. In terms of what do we need to see now, I think whilst this goes a long way to put in real focus on job creation in the energy sector, we have a lot of projects that just before COVID that were about to be shovel ready, clients were starting to build out larger scale things, so things like battery storage on solar, wind turbines, combined heat and power. And some of those projects would have been eligible for the RHI Renewable Heat Incentive. Where we've got projects that were RHI eligible, the deadline is getting very close considering they haven't been able to be on site. And I think we could see some projects become unviable, half done, insolvency situations if we don't get some clarity and an extension to that RHI. And I think further index support would be very welcome, and I think would drive a huge level of investment into that part of the economy. There's lots more information for you on our website. We're updating it all the time, and as we start to hear about the government's announcements on our journey, we're going to go on to carbon neutrality in 2050. We will be constantly updating that, so please do have a look. Thank you for listening.